Hi guys and ladies, welcome to another video. Today I have a special video for you guys because this is a double header. This is a 2-in-1 episode and we have a Perfumers portfolio video on a bit of a controversial perfumer, but I still want to do it because, you know, I'm knocking kind of the bigger personalities, the bigger names out of the way, if you will. And this gentleman is just that. He's one of the biggest names in perfume, although a lot of perfume heads or perfumistas or whatever you want to call yourself, they're not a fan of his work. It's Alberto Morillas. However, as you will see from this list, there are a lot of fragrances that I actually really enjoy. So we're going to talk about the good and the bad. But before we do that, and before we do scent of the day, as is customary, we are going to do an unboxing. And I've got some boxes coming. I've got another box coming tomorrow. And then I've got another one coming later in the week. So I've been doing some buying, some strategic buying, let's say. These I picked up for pretty cheap. All three of these cost me around $100. So I got a good deal. The gentleman that sold them to me gave me a good deal because I bought in bulk. And that's one of my favorite strategies. Whenever I find someone that has a perfume that I want, instead of just buying that particular perfume, I'll see what else they have. And if they have something that is maybe in my wheelhouse or that I've been watching and it's a good price, I'll say, hey, can I get all three of these for $100 or whatever it is. In this case, it was like $100. So I'll throw out a little bit of a lower number and say, hey, what if I buy them all? Give it to me as a set deal. And a lot of times that has been working for me. And if they say no, sometimes I'll go back to my original plan and just buy the one perfume I wanted. And sometimes I'll just say, okay, thank you, and wait. And when you have a large collection, you can be patient. So here is the box. I already did the opening because it was very well sealed, and we've got the packing peanuts. So let's start with the cheapest of the bunch from the line. And apparently, according to Parfumo, this is discontinued. And you know me, when I hear discontinued, I run to try to pick something up because I want to be able to smell it in the future, and I don't want to pay $180, $250 like some people are charging for fragrances that were just like this. Like Midnight in Paris was a $20, $30 fragrance. Now it's a $200, $300 fragrance. This is Salvatore Ferragamo pour Homme. This is a little small 30 ml bottle, but I think that well, I don't know. I think this is a little bit of an older bottle just because the ingredient list doesn't go on forever. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know how to date Salvatore Ferragamo perfumes. But this came out in 1999. And Salvatore Ferragamo pour Homme is a fig fragrance. And it actually has a beautiful bottle. I really like the bottle. It's got this, I don't have my, my rag, my microfiber cloth, but it's got this, almost like this twist to the bottle, as you can see. Really nice glass work. I like that. Sprayer is right here. And I actually paid $16 for this. So for something that is apparently discontinued, according to Parfumo, and I don't have, it's something that I want to be able to wear, and with the warmer weather coming, I plan on giving this a bit of a wear and doing a review eventually for you guys. That's my plan. I plan on reviewing all of these fragrances as just individual reviews at some point. But these little 30 ml bottles are just perfect for a collection like mine. This is probably the size that I should be buying from here on out. You don't always need, 50, 100, definitely not 200 ml. But I got a great deal on this, and so I couldn't say no. Salvatore Ferragamo pour Homme from 1999. Never smelled it before. I can smell it from the cap, and I know it's supposed to be this fig leaf, rosewood, orris, carnation, jasmine, cardamom, rose, oak moss, leather, musk, sandalwood, vetiver, cedar. It's supposed to be an easy to wear fragrance, and that fig leaf is what really got me. I don't have too many fig fragrances, and with the weather turning, it's something that I thought would be a good pickup. Now, the reason that I went to this haul that I got from this guy is actually because of this bottle right here. And it is, again, another 30 ml bottle, I believe. But this is a vintage. This is an old, discontinued fragrance again. Actually, all three of these are discontinued. Go figure. This is a fragrance called Chilenga by Balenciaga. I think that's how you say it, Chilenga. And as you can see, this is a partial. But again, when you have a large collection, you don't always need a full bottle. And you can see 90% volume on the bottom of the bottle. But this is supposedly a spicy Chypre fragrance. And I'll tell you what, from the cap, I've never smelled this before. I just unboxed this. But from the cap, I would say if you like fragrances like Roche's Femme, Mitsuko, this is one to take a look at. The reason that this popped up on my radar is I saw someone, or maybe someone left a comment, or I saw it on Fragrantica, or someone said, hey, if you like Diaghilev, check out Chilenga. And I saw most bottles were hundreds, and I found this little partial for a great price that I couldn't say no for. So this was what actually prompted this haul to get going. Never smelled it, but as a Chypre lover, and as I've delved into the Chypre category, I mean, Aramis, which is somewhere over there, Aramis is a Chypre, and, that's a masculine Chypre. There's a lot of Chypre fragrances that I really go for, but in particular, the women's Chypres lately have been catching my attention. Mitsuko, Roche's Femme, stuff like that. So when I saw this, and I saw it's discontinued, and I saw I got a respectable deal and a respectable seller, someone that's been doing it for over 20 years, I couldn't say no. So that is the second bottle in the haul. Now the third. And the reason that this got put in the haul is because this is a creation by quickly becoming one of my favorite old school perfumers, who I did a perfumers portfolio on him already. I might have to do that video again, actually, because I left out Akitos, which is actually one of his best creations, and I didn't own this, and now I do. This is a fragrance by Salvatore Dali, The Sad Sun. It's called Roy Soleil. And Roy Soleil Homme, I should say, because there is a Roy Soleil for women. And I'll tell you what, there is the back of the packaging, so you can see. There's the short ingredient list. This is a vintage. And this fragrance came out in the 90s. So Salvatore Ferragamo Pour Homme came out in 1999. Roy Soleil came out a year earlier in 1998. Look at the sad sun. I absolutely love Salvador Dali's artwork. Love it. And if you've never had a chance to watch his interview when he went on one of the late night shows, Johnny Carson or something, it blew me away listening to him talk. He is so out there, but it's just awesome to hear, someone that spent most of his time just, thinking, painting, thinking. So this is a fragrance that is, I expect it to be a fragrance of its time. I don't think it'll be any better than the first two Salvador Dali fragrances that I have. Salvador Dali Pour Homme is my favorite. That's a Thierry Wasser. Probably Thierry Wasser's best work, I would say. I've got a backup bottle of that That was featured on my backup bottle video I did recently. And then there's also Salvatore by Salvador Dali, which is done by the same perfumer, Gerard Anthony. And when I saw that he did Le Roy Soleil Homme, I said, I have to have it. I mean, the guy is a absolute legend. He did Balenciaga Pour Homme. He helped Jean-Paul Guerlain with Samsara. He did Azzaro Pour Homme, which is one of the greatest fougere fragrances of all time. Greatest anise, fougere fragrances. He did Cristobal Pour Homme. He did Homme de Grey. All of these fragrances that I really love. And so I said, you know what? Since he did Le Roy Soleil, I've been keeping an eye on this fragrance for a long time. I almost pulled the trigger on 50 ml bottle that I got. I ended up getting this 100 ml bottle for the same price I was watching a 50 ml bottle for. So sometimes patience is a virtue, but it's a top of bergamot, grapefruit, the heart of geranium, jasmine, rosewood, and then a base of amber and cedar. So it's not a complex fragrance, but it almost smells, there's something almost like a little bit dirty hiding in the background. And the best perfumers have a way of kind of hiding some of that underneath. So I fully expect this to be a freshie, a summer type wear. But just from the nozzle, it feels like there's a little something underneath. Maybe there's some spices. Maybe there is some anise, or maybe there's some cardamom or cumin or something, underneath to make it a little more interesting than just a fresh 90s fragrance. And, from a Gerard Anthony creation, that's something you would almost fully expect. And how about the bottle? I mean, look at that. That is absolutely stunning. The sun on both sides of the bottle. The sad sun. I absolutely love it. Love the artwork. So, Le Roy Soleil, you will go back into your box until further testing. And I will be giving that a full wear sooner or later. So, that's my little mini haul. The big haul is coming later this week. Actually, I have another mini haul coming tomorrow, and then the big haul is coming later this week. So let's do the Alberto Morillas video. Now, let me read you the interesting facts by Parfumo. First, it says, the elegant gentleman among perfumers. Alberto Morillas likes to describe himself as a constant seeker of new scents. Born and raised in the wild south of Spain, the Andalusian is still deeply connected to his roots. He associates his first conscious scent experience with the garden in his parents' house in Seville. This was home to a local orange trees, but also allowed the young Alberto to breathe in the scents of carnations and jasmines daily. He moved with his parents to Switzerland when he was 11 years old, where he began, but never finished, his studies in art history at the prestigious École des Beaux-Arts. The culprit of his rebellion was none other than Jean-Paul Guerlain. An interview with him in Vogue inspired him to indulge in the art of perfume making. He applied to Firmenich in 1970, to which he continues to lend his old-style nose, as he says himself. The traditional company, which has been a global player in the fragrances and essences field since 1895, is the largest privately owned company of its kind in the world. Since 1998, Alberto Morillas has been allowed to call himself master perfumer. His way to this Olympus of perfumers was paved by his world-famous creations like, and they have a list here, and most of these I don't have, you'll see. Cartier Must de Cartier 2, don't have that. Calvin Klein CK1, don't have that. Tommy Hilfiger by Tommy, don't have that. Estee Lauder Pleasures, don't have that. Giorgio Armani Acqua de Jo, do not have that or like it. Givenchy's Pie, don't have that. Kenzo Flower, don't have that. Thierry Mugler Cologne, don't have that. M7, I do have that. Omnia by Bulgari, don't have that. Dolce&Gabbana Light Blue Pour Homme, don't have that. Marc Jacobs Daisy, nope. Narciso Rodriguez Essence, nope. Bulgari Man, nope. Gucci Bloom, nope. So you can see the fragrances I have are the ones that are off the beaten path for him, the ones that are not hits, let's say. I do have a couple that might be considered hits, but they're not the main ones listed in that these are the ones that made him popular list, as you can see. Alberto Morillas was awarded the Prix Francois Coty in 2003. This was followed by the Fragrance Foundation Lifetime Achievement Award for his life's work in 2013, but he's not stopping anytime soon. In addition to his work for Firmenich, he launched his product line in 1999 under the brand name Meisenser. I have no clue what that is. I've never smelled anything from that. So there's a little brief on Alberto Morillas, and the knock on Alberto Morillas, the thing that perfume lovers like myself really have a hard time accepting, is the fact that he pumps out fragrances. You know, there are perfumers from the past. Gerard Anthony's a great example of that. I think he probably has only done in his entire career. Let's see what it says, how many fragrances Gerard Anthony has done. It doesn't say this way, but I'm going to guess probably between 10 and 20. That's my guess. He's done probably between 10 and 20 fragrances. And he's one of my favorite old school noses, if you will, right? Alberto Morillas probably does 10 to 20 fragrances every couple months. I mean, he has probably done thousands of fragrances, it feels like. And that's kind of the knock on him, is that he is the poster child for everything that's wrong in the fragrance industry. They don't take their time with fragrances. They pump out a million flankers. They do this, they do that. But even with all that, it's still worth talking about some of these creations because they are influential, and you can't have a conversation. You can't do a Perfumers portfolio series like I have been doing and leave off Alberto Morillas. You just can't. Because some of these fragrances, even perfume lovers like myself love, as you will see. So, before we get into the perfumes, let's do Scent of the Day. And today's Scent of the Day is a discontinued fragrance, go figure, so it'll make my Ramsey's ramblings on discontinued fragrances. By the way, I have a correction. I feel like an editor. I have a correction to the previous video. I initially said in that first Ramsey's Rambling on Discontinued Fragrances video that name came from Heinke, one of my subscribers. Actually, it originally came from Rachel. So, apologies, Rachel. I was giving your idea to Heinke. But either way, you gals are fantastic, and I appreciate all of the contributions and the great ideas. And I hope people take that Ramsey Rambling name as a good thing and not me just rambling on about useless stuff for hours. But either way, I do love talking about perfume, and this gives me a great sounding board just to kind of talk about it. And, you know, I hope you guys are enjoying the conversations. I try to keep it very informal. But today's Scent of the Day is a discontinued fragrance. And this is one area of the fragrance world where Rich Mitch and I disagree. You could probably count on one or maybe two hands tops the number of times that this happens. This is his favorite from this Jazz line. Mine is the original Jazz. This is Jazz Prestige. This is a flanker to the original Jazz. The original Jazz from YSL came out in 1988. This came out in 1993. And I don't know who the perfumer is, but this is a true flanker. This is what a flanker used to be, because you can smell the Jazz DNA underneath it all. But what they've done is they've made it a little bit more palatable. So what they did is they amped up some of those floral notes. Remember, the 90s is where things really started to change. So they amped up the floral notes, but they kept the Jazz DNA at its heart. That lavender patchouli thing with oak moss, that stayed. You know, there's still Jazz inside of this. But what I feel was kind of amped up is the geranium and the carnation. So the floral notes is really what feels amped up. The geranium, carnation, jasmine, stuff like that. There's also maybe an increase of, you know, ginger and mace and pepper and, you know, things that it stays kind of, it's still this spicy fragrance, but it's more citrusy, more floral is what it feels like to my nose. But I you know, the first 5 minutes, I don't enjoy it as much as I do the next couple hours. As it dries, it gets better and better and better. And the box actually says that there is Mysore sandalwood in this, which in 1993 is definitely a possibility. Now, this has been discontinued for a long time, and I saw some bottles on eBay for insane money. Do not pay $300 for 50 ml of this. Just don't do it. I'm telling you right now. If you find a bottle at a respectable price, is this worth grabbing? Yes. If you're a collector like me and money is no issue, go ahead. Spend your $300 on 50 ml. But for me, it's good. But I prefer the original. You know, that's... Somebody on Fragrantica wrote, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s, all you smelled was, you know, sickly, thick clouds of men wearing the original jazz. And so this is easier to wear. It doesn't remind me of those times. Well, I was 3 years old in 88, so I have no association to what time was like when the original jazz came out. So I said this before on one of my earlier videos about Antaeus. You know, there was some talk about, I can't wear Antaeus because, you know, that was connected to stuff going on in the 80s and only certain people wore that. I don't have any of that. So I don't have any connection to, I love Antaeus, I love the original jazz. So maybe we kind of have the best of both worlds, being alive now and having no preconceived associations with these old fragrances. But I love the original jazz, and I do love this fragrance as well, but I would rank it one step below, whereas my partner in crime, Rich Mitch, he would put this as the #1 from the jazz line. So, which is strange because he doesn't like florals. So, but there you go. Jazz Prestige. I'm enjoying the heck out of this, and it's perfect for a spring day. It's absolutely perfect. The sandalwood, cedar. There is a leather benzoin amber thing going on in the base too, so it's got some heft. And I'm really enjoying that. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, let's get on to the Alberto Morillas fragrances, and let's start with one that will be on my discontinued list. Even though it's not discontinued, this particular version is, and this is called Homme de Café. Now, the one you want is the version that says COFCI, manufactured by COFCI Paris. This is actually like a $10 perfume now. If you just go get the new stuff that's being issued by whatever it is, Coffin Lux, or I don't know who the issuer, who the distributor is now, but the modern ones that they sell that are reformulated, that don't say manufactured by COFCI, are trash. They're not worth the $10 that you're going to pay. This is Alberto Morillas' first fragrance in 1978, and I'll tell you what, I really enjoy this fragrance in the spring and the summer. It has this spicy citrus fruity thing going on. So the notes are pretty simple. It's orange, bergamot, raspberry, cedarwood, and musk. But the twist is there's this clove leaf, carnation leaf going on. And it definitely smells like a spicy carnation fragrance to me. Even though carnation is not listed, it gives off this, you know how the carnation in Abbey Rouge feels? But Abbey Rouge is a very complex fragrance, so it might be tough to isolate. But it feels like there's this spicy carnation going on, and it's absolutely beautiful. And what you will see as the years go on, so I'm going to try to do these in order, is his releases originally are pretty spaced out. This is 1970, what did I say, 8? The next one I'm going to show you is the mid-80s, 86. And then we've got 88, 91, 97, 2002. And so they kind of get closer and closer and closer together. And lately, now that with the advent of, the computer, I'm sure this was not done on computer. He wrote this formula by hand and all that stuff, and it takes more time. But it also, Pierre Bourdon said that having the computer do some of that stuff is one of the worst things to ever happen to the industry, because when you do it by hand, you take your time, you write it out, you think about things while you're writing it out. You might think about this connection or that connection. When you just plug it into a software computer and hit go, and it just does it all for you, your brain isn't involved in the process. And so you kind of get removed. And you can tell in this perfume that this is something he really thought about, spent time on, all that good stuff. So this is one that's a little under the radar, very under the radar, actually. The only time I've ever seen anyone talk about this fragrance is Sebastian did a video where he talked about modern formulations of old fragrances, and even he said the modern formulation of this is trash. So he said it doesn't smell as good as he remembered. He's a little bit more diplomatic, but basically he was saying it's trash. So if you can find this older bottle, I would highly recommend it, especially if you can get it for a steal. This is a 50 ml, and you look at the sprayer. Look at the old atomizer. It's hilarious, these old atomizers. But it's a good fragrance, and I'm going to be giving it a full wear very soon. Now, next up on the list is 1986. So we jump 8 years in the future, and we're going to go to a proper spicy, woody fougere. This is Xeryus by the house of Givenchy. Now, Xeryus has been reformulated many times. This is the old bottle. This is an old splash bottle, even. This is back before LVMH owned Givenchy, if I'm not mistaken. 87% volume. Yeah, this is the old formula. This is still available for purchase, but it is a little different. I don't think it's as thick. It doesn't have that 80s DNA about it. But this is bergamot, jasmine, lavender, lily of the valley, mandarin orange, mace, rose, violet, ylang-ylang, lemon, cyclamen, tarragon, carnation, geranium, coriander, petitgrain, sandalwood, juniper, cinnamon, cypress, amber, spruce, which is a very rare note to see. You don't see spruce used very often. Oak moss, leather, musk, vetiver, frankincense, and cedar. And for a fougere, it is a good fragrance. I enjoy it, but it's very classical. This is, if you guys know fragrance reviewers' tastes, like somebody who loves this is Mr. Smelly, for example. But he likes those old, he likes Boucheron Pour-Homme and stuff like that. And this kind of falls into that category of, it's easy to wear, it's not offensive. It doesn't, if you think about other fougere fragrances, let's say, like Azzaro Pour-Homme has that very sharp, anise, sharp opening, right? This doesn't really have that. It's very smooth. There's no sharp edges like on the corner right here. No, it's all very rounded. It's very polished. This would actually be a great work scent. Even though it's from the 80s, if you wanted something old school, but you still wanted to be somewhat professional, you want people to take you seriously. You don't want a fragrance that's going to joke around. Xeryus would be a good choice. I probably would not buy another bottle once this is gone, just because there are other fougères I enjoy more. Rogue's Bon Monsieur, for example, is one of my favorite fougères. Gucci Nobile, which I got a partial of from Amouage, and I'm so thankful for that. I've really enjoyed testing that. Stuff like that. Amouage Man has that bracing clove. I like that stuff. I like a little bit of, pizzazz in the opening. Some announcement. Doesn't really have that. Doesn't have that excitement quality, if you will. Good fragrance, but not my favorite. Now, Another one, we're going to jump forward 2 years, and another discontinued fragrance, or it's on Parfumo, it says the production was apparently discontinued. So we're going to say it's discontinued. This is from the house of Antonio Puig, and it's called Ciborus. Now, Ciborus is a spicy Schifra fragrance that has this note of cumin in the opening. And normally, I love cumin. I love the cumin in fragrances like Eau de Hermes. Diaghilev has this cumin note. You know, I'm a fan of cumin. I own Fate Man, and that's a huge cumin bomb. So I have a lot of fragrances that have cumin in them. The cumin here, there's this combination of 2 notes. So here's the note tree. It's aldehydes, basil, cumin, mandarin orange, and lemon, with artemisia, geranium, jasmine, carnation, sandalwood, juniper, and cinnamon. You notice he likes carnation. There's like this clove leaf, carnation leaf thing here, and then there's carnation in both of these. So old school, he was a big fan of the carnation note, obviously. But if he was a fan of Guerlain, Abbey Rouge had that lovely carnation. And then the base is amber, leather, moss, patchouli, vetiver, and frankincense. And the 2 notes that really clash, that stand out in my mind with this, and I need to give it more wears because I've only tested it a couple times. But the notes that clash are the cinnamon and the cumin. And they feel like, you know, maybe as part of the overall formula, they work. But for some reason, when it's on your skin and it combines with each other in the opening, the first hour or so, the cinnamon and the cumin just feels really amped up, like overdone. And you know, it's a good fragrance. It's much more interesting than the crap they're releasing nowadays, but I don't think I would buy this one again either. This is another one that glad to have it, glad to smell it, but it's not something that I would say really moves me. It's just, by the way, this was a joint project by Rosendahl Matu and Alberto Morillas. So he did have help on that one. So I need to revisit it more. Now, the one that is old school that I absolutely love, and you know, out of the first 4 we're talking about, if I had to buy another fragrance again, this would be the one that I would buy again. This is a fragrance called Romeo Jigglypuromo. Now, Romeo Jigglypuromo came out in 1991, and this is this spicy, woody amber scent with the note of honey. And you guys know I'm a honey freak. I love honey. This also has this, look at the juice. It's got this green color to it. Obviously, this is like synthetic green. At the time, in the late 80s, and early 90s, fragrance companies started coloring their juices bright colors, I guess, to kind of get people's attention. There are a couple examples of that. Uomo was like that bright pink. Sung Homme is like that bright purple. And Romeo Jigglypuromo is the green juice, very green, you know. Kool-Aid green, you could say. But there is some greenness in here. There's this lemon tree accord with balsam fir. And there's other green notes. There's oak moss and tarragon and patchouli and stuff like that. But what it mixes with is this lavender, this fruitiness, and this very smooth woods. So there's plum, there's Brazilian rosewood, which usually just reminds me of this very smooth. We were talking about Brazilian rosewood in the comments. Me and Le Egoist, who's one of my favorite commenters to read because he always has an amazing story. But he was talking about this guitar he had. I think that was rosewood. And it reminded me of these rosary beads that my mother used to have that were Brazilian rosewood. And every time I smell Brazilian rosewood, it just kind of takes me back. I have a great scent association with those. So it's this Brazilian rosewood with honey, ginger, rose, jasmine, cinnamon, but it's the base here that makes this so interesting. The honey, obviously, is a standout note. But then you get benzoin, amber, oak moss, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, styrax, tonka bean, vanilla, and cedarwood. And this bottle, I don't know if you can see that, but this bottle is actually one of the original bottles. Made in Italy, not reformulated. I think this is completely discontinued now. This is a splash bottle that has this crazy cap. But it's an amazing fragrance. I need to give that a full wear before it gets too hot. Romeo Jigglypuromo is, of the fragrances from the 70s, 80s, and then early 90s, this would be my favorite from Alberto Morillas. Now, one of the ones that I'm going to take some liberty on, because he's not listed as the perfumer, but many people in the comments have listed him as the perfumer, and I don't know if that's just the Fragcom talk, people copying each other, but if anyone knows for sure, let me know. But I'm going to put this in here. This is Dolce&Gabbana's By Man. Now, this is probably the one that is the most unicorn status of his older perfumes. Not many people are kicking the door down for Ciborus or anything like that. But this one they do, and there's a reason why. This is one of the best uses of synthetics, actually. And if this is an Alberto Morillas, this came out in 1997, 1998, somewhere around there. This is one of the best uses of beautiful natural lavender and artemisia and stuff like that. Guaiac wood mixed with hedione and ambroxan and, you know, those kind of synthetic notes. And it is so good. It's so pleasant. This is like the perfect work scent. If you've never smelled this, I will urge you, do not pay $600-700. There's a bottle on eBay right now that's 100 ml, just like this. This is a tester bottle that I got from Amouage. And the one on eBay is 100 ml, just like this. You can't see the juice without actually opening it up and looking inside. But the one on eBay, they want $699 for, or something like that. Do not pay that. That is absolute insanity. But I will tell you that as far as a proper, pleasant summer, spring work scent, this is, I don't know if you could do better than this, because it's got this nutmeg leaf, lavender, so it's a little spicy. But the lavender is so beautifully done. It's so smooth, so elegant, so chic, so, you know, it's masculine without offending anyone. It's pleasant enough that it won't offend. It has the synthetic, you know, the legs from the synthetics to last for a long, long time. But then it has that guaiac wood, sandalwood, leather, amber thing in the base going on that just adds that heft. And it even though it's easy to wear, anyone can just throw this on and go. It's still interesting enough that someone like me, who is a perfume freak, loves it, if that makes sense. So it does all these different things. Now, I meant to grab my original M7 bottle to show you guys, but I forgot. So I'm just going to show you the reformulated one. There's two. There's M7 from 2002 that Alberto Morillas and Jacques Cavalier did. And then there's M7 Absolu from 2011. And I don't know if this is discontinued altogether or not. This is probably one of the easiest designer ouds. This is the reformulated Absolute. I also have the original bottle from 2002. But they're basically the same scent. I think this one they added patchouli and maybe a couple other things. But I will tell you that this changed the game when it actually it changed the game in the perfume world on the inside more than it did the outside. I don't think this was a huge hit when it came out in 2002. Tom Ford was the creative director of YSL, and I think Tom Ford and Yves Saint Laurent, the man, who was still involved in the process at that time, really clashed over this scent because Tom Ford was trying to take YSL in this new direction, new era, And Yves Saint Laurent did not like it. You know, he wanted to stay classical. And so they clashed over this. But this is basically oud vetiver with this beautiful orange-like feel that kind of runs through the middle. The old one, the biggest difference between the old 2002 bottle with the off-center sprayer in that red bottle and this reformulated one is that I don't get as much of that cola opening. In the opening, there's this cola vibe that you get in the original one. They also added these mineral notes in here. So there's mineral notes, there's patchouli, and I think there is the addition of myrrh. And I don't think there was any myrrh in the original bottle. You can see right there it says cistus and myrrh. And I don't think there was any cistus labdanum, and I don't think there was any myrrh. But if you just want a, you know, oud fragrance that is easy to wear, a designer oud that's, you know, easy on the nose. You don't want real oud that, you know, has that that stink, that rot, that blue cheese, that challenging bit, which that's what some oud lovers love, is, you know, they love the fact it's challenging and different. But if you're on the beginner's level and you just want, or you want something easier to wear for work, M7 is a fantastic fragrance. And this is Alberto Morillas and Jacques Cavalier working together, and they came up with this, which everyone claims is the first designer, you know, Western perfume house to use oud in a perfume. So that was 2002. 2002, he also released a fragrance for Givenchy, which he, as you can see, he's starting to do lots of collaborations. M7 was a collaboration, and Ciborus was a collaboration, and then this is a collaboration with Elias Hermendis. This is Givenchy Xeryus. Now this is I believe this is an older bottle, but I don't know how much of a reformulation this perfume really had, because I don't think there's much to reformulate. This is grapefruit, coriander, and mandarin orange with lavender and vetiver, and then labdanum and cedar in the base. Again, very easy to wear work scent. One that I would not buy again, although this is a 100 ml bottle. It looks like one of those Glade plug-ins that you put on the wall and it just, you know, sprays out every couple hours. But I like it. I don't love it. It's just it's this fresh, spicy, you know, designer, and it smells like a designer. That's the thing. This smells like a designer. M7 smells like a designer. You know, he does that designer feel pretty well for what it is. I mean, he gives you that designer feel. This seems completely, you know, far and above. I love that fragrance. But Givenchy Xeryus, I think it's still available for purchase. You know, if you're a fan of those early 2000 easier to wear perfumes, it might be one to check out. Next is one of the reasons I don't own Le Male, and this is another great designer example. This is Mauboussin. I'm going to say Mauboussin. That sounds better than Mauboussin. I have no clue how to say this. Mauboussin Homme. Or I'm sorry, Mauboussin Homme. And Mauboussin Homme came out in 2003. And this is this sweet lavender with rosemary, bergamot, patchouli, sage, cinnamon, bourbon, vanilla, musk, and sandalwood. And it's that lavender, vanilla. It doesn't have I think Le Male might have a touch of mint. It doesn't have that mint in the opening, but it does have rosemary and sage. And it scratches the same itch. And I hardly ever want to wear this. My wife likes this, actually. She likes it when I wear this. But for me, it's just a little too boring, a little too designer-ish, and that's where we really get into, I think, the beef people have with Alberto Morillas. This is not something that's going to excite somebody like me, but maybe for the general perfume-wearing public, this gets the job done for 30 bucks, you know, and it smells good. And if that's who you are and what you want, you probably aren't watching this channel, but there it is, Mauboussin Homme. Now, this is another one like By Man that I'm going to give him credit for, although I'm not 100% sure that he did it, but the rumor mill is, yes, he did this perfume in 2004. This is a fragrance called Creed's Original Vetiver, and it's probably, you know, when I think of Vetiver, I break it into two categories: clean, easy to wear, citrusy, fresh vetiver, and dark, smoky. You know, think about this as the clean, citrusy vetiver, and then Encre Noire as the, you know, dirty, smoky, soily vetiver. This is the photo child for clean vetiver. Now, original vetiver is a little bit maybe of a bad choice of words, because there's a fragrance that came out in 2001 from the house of Thierry Mugler called Mugler Cologne that smells almost identical to this. Not identical, but very, very close. 90%, I think, similar. This has that extra Creed, you know, that little bit more that they do, and then they charge 10 times as much, but they do a little bit more. The ingredients are a little better. There's supposedly real ambergris in these older bottles that are, you know, 75 ml and 120 ml, the 2.5 and 4 ounce bottles, and then they were reformulated. Who knows if there's real ambergris in this? This is a 2016 bottle, I believe. Yeah, you can see it right there. 16J01 for those of you who care about batch codes. And this is bergamot, bitter orange, mandarin orange, vetiver leaf, white pepper, coriander, pink pepper, ambergris, sandalwood, musk, and then vetiver in the base. So they claim they use vetiver leaf in the top and then vetiver in the base, which, what is vetiver leaf? I don't know, the grass of the vetiver? I thought they only used the root. But either way, vetiver, original vetiver is one of my favorite vetivers to wear in the spring and summer. This and Guerlain's vetiver are the two that give me that, you know, fresh outdoor feel. If you want to think about like you're just in nature, that's what original vetiver gives me. That's why I like to wear it in the spring and the summer when it's usually a little bit warmer. Plus, the citrus aspect to this fragrance is absolutely beautiful. Now, the conundrum is, would I buy another bottle of this? And if Alberto Morillas did Mugler's cologne, which he did he do this? If he did, he just took that DNA over to Creed, where they marked it up 10 times, and, you know, he probably made a little tweak here and there, and is it worth the asking price is what you have to ask yourself. So, to each their own. Next is another duo, Perfumers duo. This time we're bringing in Francois Demachy. So this is Alberto Morillas and Francois Demachy. This is 2007. This is Acqua de Parma Colonia Intensa. Now, Colonia Intensa is a take on the original Acqua de Parma Colonia DNA, which came out like at the turn of the century, like the 1910s, I think, or hundreds or 20s or something like that. This is the citrusy, fresh fragrance, so it's, but what they did, the reason it's called Intensa, is they added some spiciness and they added some ambery benzoin-like feel in the base. So there's still this Sicilian lemon, Calabrian bergamot, ginger, which is the main part of the fragrance. The main pieces to my nose are those citruses in the top and then the neroli in the heart. And they've added things like cardamom and myrtle and artemisia, and then the base has leather, cedarwood, patchouli, and benzoin and musk. So again, this is a fragrance that you will wear spring, summer, but if you want to smell traditional, if you want to smell classy, if you had like an important meeting to go to, something like this, these two are absolutely perfect for that. I much prefer By Man because this DNA harkens more to those citrus fragrances that I'm not as big a fan of, but it's better than the original Colonia. Let's put it that way. If you're a fan of citrus fragrances, if you like Eau Sauvage, EDT, or YSL's Pour Homme, check out Acqua de Parma, Colonia, Intensa. Now, let's go to a fragrance that I don't have a full bottle of, but is worth talking about. I actually have 4 little decants. I'm going to give this a full wear. I've never given this a full wear. I've only sprayed this on at night. But this is called Bulgari Man in Black. And Man in Black is a very popular designer release. Again, this is what he does good. He does well now. Because it uses heavier notes like tobacco and rum and leather, stuff like that. I believe there's even a tuberose note in this, which is shocking because I wouldn't have never guessed there's a tuberose note. There's Orris Absolute, which is an expensive ingredient actually. And then there's benzoin and tonka. And this and Spice Bomb get compared to one another. If you took this Man in Black versus Spice Bomb, the original, I think I would take Man in Black. If you took Man in Black versus Spice Bomb Extreme, ooh, that gets a little tougher. Maybe I would take Spice Bomb Extreme. I don't know, but I'll give this a full wear and do a early impression video one of these days, maybe before it gets super hot. Although it's already in the high 80s, so I might not have much time. But that is a good fragrance. Again, very popular niche fragrance. Now, before we go, or a very popular designer fragrance. Now, before we go to another popular designer, let's do his one of the few heavy niche hitters that I have on the list. We already talked about Creed's original Vetiver. Now we are going to do Amouage Journey Man, probably one of my favorite Alberto Morillas creations. And Journey Man, this is the made in UK version, but still fantastic. Doesn't matter to me actually. I just love Amouage's packaging. It's brilliant. One of the few that I actually care about packaging on. And look at the bottle. I mean, can you improve on that? I don't know. With this matching Swarovski crystal, the magnetic cap, I mean, and the juice is one of my favorite tobacco scents. This is actually, again, co-collaboration with Pierre Nagrin. And this is probably the best use of Sichuan pepper that I've ever smelled. This is Sichuan pepper, bergamot, cardamom, and neroli with juniper, frankincense, tobacco. And they've used some synthetics here. So they use like geraniol and ambrox. But the base has tonka, cypriol, and leather. So when I think of cypriol fragrances, cypriol heavy fragrances, I think of Promise by Frederic Malle, and I think of this. And those are the two, Journeyman and Promise, those cypriol heavy fragrances. But in the cold weather, you know, this is absolutely stunning. And I probably have 90 ml left. I don't think you can see it, but I probably have 90 ml out of the 100 ml. This will last me forever. It's this spicy, smoky. It's so good. If you're a fan of Amouage's DNA, that's one that's heavily overlooked. And that's why I say Alberto Morillas has this dichotomy going on. You know, he creates these very simple, easy to wear designers, but he also creates stuff like this. This is beautiful. This is very interesting to me. Love it. Absolutely love Journey Man. Now, let's go to one that I don't necessarily love. In fact, I hate. This is probably one of my most hated Alberto Morillas creations. Every now and then I'll spray it on to remind myself how much I hate this fragrance. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see the juice, but it's about right there. So on this 2 ml, I've used about an ml begrudgingly. This is from the house of Versace, and it's called Dylan Blue Pour Homme. Versace Pour Homme Dylan Blue. Oh my God, this stuff is... Somebody, one of my commenters said a fragrance is bug spray, and this is bug spray. This is absolutely pathetic. This is one of the worst fragrances I've smelled. It's supposedly supposed to have this fig leaf, grapefruit with aquatic notes and violet leaves, black pepper, papyrus, tonka, saffron. All I get is this disgusting blue ambroxan thing. I'd rather wear Sauvage Parfum over Dylan Blue any day of the week, and twice on Sunday. This I can stand. It's not exciting, but I can stand it. This, I can't stand it. I mean, I spray it on sometimes before bed just to remind myself how much I hate it, and the hate continues to grow. Next, another one that I don't necessarily hate the fragrance, but I hate the sweetness and I hate the idea, because this is a masculine fragrance by the house of Salvatore Ferragamo, and it's called Uomo. And the bottle is obviously a Lalique bottle, because you can tell by the side, this type of bottle that looks like this. Lalique did a fragrance called Linsaumus that had an almost identical cap. I don't have the cap to show you, but the cap on Linsaumus and the sides of the bottle, how it has this black piece here. Lalique made this bottle, and that's the best part about the fragrance, is the bottle. The fragrance itself is this very sweet, almost like gourmand, masculine gourmand, they call it. This is another duo, Alberto Morillas and Aurélien Guichard. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. But I think what these perfumers are doing, my guess is, because this one he did with Pierre Negrin, and Pierre gave an interview where he basically said, yeah, my job was to make the top of the fragrance, and Alberto Morillas's was to make the base, or whatever it is. You know, it maybe was the other way around. But they split the work up. So one of them does the first half of the fragrance, the other one does the bottom half, and they combine it. I don't know how I feel about that. And that's probably how you get stuff like this. You get stuff that doesn't feel like it meshes well. Or today Eugene was talking about Santal Paurosa by Guerlain, and he said it feels like the oud note is just kind of stapled onto the rest of the fragrance. And I think when these perfumers, obviously for these big houses, you're going to have teams. It's not just going to be one person. But if you have these two big names, you know, Pierre Negrin and Alberto Morillas are both big names to me. You know, if they're not on the same page, you get that clash sometimes. And here it clashes. You get this very sweet black pepper cardamom, but the idea is to have a tiramisu note in the mid, which is just a horrible idea for a men's perfume. Why should a man smell like tiramisu? And loads of ambroxan and cashmere woods in the base. And what's funny is sometimes I will test these perfumes that I just can't get myself to wear during the day. Like, I can't wear this stuff during the day. I mean, maybe I'll force myself to wear this one day just to make a video and tell you guys how much I hate it. But I spray this on at night sometimes, and my wife likes it, which is kind of funny, because I spray it on at night because I don't want to wear it during the day, but I still want to kind of test it on skin. So I spray it on at night, go to bed, but she actually enjoys it. So you know, if you're someone who just wants compliments, I guess something like Salvatore, Ferragamo, Uomo could be one to go for. But the sweet, and you know, I don't like sweet fragrances. So for me, it's a no-no. But I got this tester bottle at a price that I couldn't say no for. So, and you know me, I like to buy stuff and sit on it just in case, because what if I want to revisit it? What if my nose changes? You know, that kind of stuff. Now, this is a discontinued fragrance that I absolutely love, and he's gone back to this DNA again in another fragrance here I'm going to show you in a second. This is Gigli Absolu 2017. This came out, and it is now discontinued, and this is the best from the line, hands down. This is basically vetiver with cypress and patchouli. And this, it gives off this leather note. There's also two copyrighted, I don't know which big house owns these ingredients, but one is called wood leather and the other one's called golden wood. They're two synthetics that are used in this perfume. And I absolutely love this stuff. I think it's great for the designer game to put something like this out. This is when Gucci got their new creative director, who just really took the house by storm and said, we're going to do something different. And I really applaud them for that. And I mean, as you can see, I put a pretty decent sized dent in this bottle. I love this fragrance. They give you 90 mLs. This is a 90 ml bottle, which is a little strange amount, but I hated the original Gigli. I hated Gigli Black or whatever they did, those flankers. I didn't like those at all, but this one is an absolute keeper. And I'm going to come to another fragrance that kind of uses that DNA again in just a second. But first, I want to talk about Gigli Cologne. Now, this came out in 2019, so we're jumping ahead a couple years. And I think this one is still available for purchase, unlike Gigli Absolute. Gigli Cologne is this very fresh, almost like this fresh woody fragrance. There's juniper, rosemary, bergamot, Spanish cypress. So again, he did go back to the cypress well. There's cypress in Gigli Absolute, and there's cypress here with heliotropin, not heliotrope, heliotropin, which is a synthetic molecule, violet, patchouli, cedar, and this big dose of white musk in the base. Very easy to wear in the summer. It's okay. It's another one of these, you know, as a designer, it's okay for a hot day. You just want to spray something on that's going to last 3, 4, 5 hours. You know, Gigli Cologne is okay. Now, the one that gives you that Gigli Absolute vibe is this. This is Philipp Plein No Limits. Now, this is a, what is this? This is a 50 ml bottle, made in Italy. Philipp Plein Parfums. And this takes that Gigli Absolute DNA and adds a couple things that are absolutely crazy, okay? So one thing it adds is oud. And, you know, designer oud, obviously. So there's oud, bourbon vanilla, and dark chocolate. So it almost starts to go down the road of, you know, it starts to give you maybe a little bit of a reminder of like L'Instant de Guerlain. And then it adds this aquatic note. So it adds stuff that starts to make sense, and then it goes in a direction that makes no sense. So it's aquatic notes, bergamot, ginger, black pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, clove, star anise, dark chocolate, bourbon vanilla, frankincense, black amber, I don't know what that is, cedarwood, patchouli, oud, and leather. So these two are similar. If you thought this was crazy, which it is a little bit crazy, but it's still wearable for a perfume lover. It just might shock the average person, right? If you thought this was crazy, this is insane. Aquatic notes, dark chocolate, frankincense. It just seems like it wouldn't work. And for a little bit, it almost doesn't. It feels like there's no way it's going to work. And then as it dries, it does work somehow, some way. Some people say that this is a more wearable version of Gucci Guilty Absolute. I don't know if I agree with that, because I actually took to Gucci Guilty Absolute much quicker than I took to Philipp Plein No Limits. In fact, I'm still kind of testing this. I'm in that undecided phase, whether I even like it or not. So that's my take on it. If you own this, you probably don't need that, to be honest with you. You don't need Philipp Plein No Limits if you already own this. If you don't own this and you're having a hard time, or you think this is now too popular amongst the perfume crowd and you want something different, you can go for Philipp Plein No Limits. Now, the last bottle, as we're over an hour, the last bottle is a Gucci, and he is working with Gucci on their high-end designer, their private line, which I don't even know what they call this. But long story short, this is the only one from the bunch that I like and own a full bottle of, and this is called A Midnight Stroll. Now, A Midnight Stroll is straight up one of my favorite frankincense perfumes. I told you yesterday, if you watched my first iteration of the discontinued fragrance episode, I talked a little bit about Amouage Silver, where it's here somewhere. Where is it? It's right here. Amouage Silver Crystal Man, where it has that beautiful silver frankincense. I talked about some of the Amouages that have that silver frankincense. This is a shock to me because I love the frankincense in this. It's so natural. And then it mixes it with cypress, which, again, there's cypress in both of the Gucci Guilty lines I talked to you about. So he's sticking with cypress and frankincense. And he's added this Cade juniper wood, which I know Cade oil, I know juniper, but I don't know what Cade juniper wood is. And there's probably much more than that going on, but it's a fad now for these perfume houses to only give you 3 notes. And so there's probably a lot of other things going on. Either way, I think this is a fantastic incense fragrance. It's so dry and woody, and there's this smoky aspect from the frankincense, but it also almost feels like there's that dry, unburnt, oily, piney frankincense resin, almost like you've picked a frankincense resin directly off of the tree and it's not lit. So good, and I would totally wear stuff like this in the warmer weather, but I know it's kind of frowned upon, so I kind of save these for the winter, if you will, but this is a hidden gem. Apparently the rest of the line, which I haven't smelled them all, but I have received some samples. Some of the other ones that I've smelled, I would say no. I mean, A Voice of the Snake has that oud that, I would just rather buy Bortnikov or something like that. The rose one was, whatever. It's just a rose perfume. But this one, so good. And the bottle is gorgeous. Fantastic packaging, by the way. So, that's my list. That's my Alberto Morillas list. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Let me know if you are a fan of Alberto Morillas' perfumes or if you hate them all. It's hard to hate him all because he has such a wide range. Some people are just not a fan of him as a perfumer. And probably before I really started to do this video, I would have agreed with that. But once I started really picking them out and realizing there's stuff like Journeyman, Gucci Guilty Absolute, A Midnight Stroll, By Man, Creed's original vetiver, you know, M7, you realize that you have to give him credit on some of this. And I'm not even talking about the Aqua de Jo's and all that stuff. So let me know what you think. I know this is probably going to be a little bit of a controversial video. It went a little bit longer than I wanted because of the unboxing and scent of the day and all that good stuff. But let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye, guys.